Mary was the healer, and she was always pushing herself for the team and would jump in as soon as anyone had a scratch and heal them. But the party was young and overconfident, and once they came across a spotted kobold called the Death Spots, they foolishly challenged it and got themselves beaten, and at the time, Mary had used up all her magic, so she ended up losing 3 of her teammates. She and Hayashi were the only survivors that day, and since then, she has never been the same. After that, she started going from party to party, but has never stayed with one group for long, so Hayashi asked them to take care of her. They now know a bit more about her past, but Ranta has no idea why any of that should matter. Are they supposed to be nice to her because her old teammates died or what? The same thing happened to them, yet she doesn't try to be nice at all, however. While what he said is true, Shihoro has to speak up and say they were all affected by Monado's death, so they should be a little considerate to her. You know it's bad when Shihoro has to speak up since she has only said like 5 lines of dialogue since they got here. Haru agrees with her, saying Mary won't treat them as friends if they don't meet her in the middle and do the same. But Ranta is a bit upset that Haru is going through all the effort to treat Mary as a friend while everyone always dismisses his opinions. Haru hadn't realized he had been doing that, so he promises to listen to Ranta more often, catching him off guard a bit. The next day, Yume and Haru are scouting out the goblins and spot one who is holding Haru's old dagger he dropped on the day Monado died. He nearly goes straight in to fight it, but Mary stops him because that would be plain stupid to do in this weather. He apologizes and decides to head back to the rest of the group that were chilling out in an old house. He tells them there were no good targets out there, so they should pack up for the day, but before they go, he has something he wants to tell Mary. She gets up expecting to be kicked out of the party with how strange everyone's acting towards her, but Haru just tells her the story of Monado and what he meant to their party. He had initially brought her in as part of the party just to fill Monado's role, but now he thinks of her as a friend and so does everyone else. As they leave, Haru invites her to hang out with them, but she says it's too soon for her to start acting as a friend, but she has really warmed up to them at this point. After that, things go really smooth with the party's relationship and Mary starts acting friendly with them. And with this newfound synergy, they slay goblins day in and day out, so much so that they're mocked by the others at the bar for it. They track the goblins, they think like the goblins, and they kill them with no mercy. Goblin Slayer now approves. They've also all got new skills, where Shikoru learned a sleep spell, while Ranta learned how to do a backstep from the enemy to create distance. Moguzo learned how to scream to the tune of that sound of nail on a chalkboard, incapacitating the goblins, while Yume learned how to not suck at aiming with a bow. And on the end of Haru, he's acquired a new ability that directs him to strike at just the right spot to kill an enemy, but he's not sure exactly what it is, so he'll have to ask Barbara about it later. In the abandoned building, the goblins are lounging around, and Yo is that goblin playing chess. Outside, the team is getting ready to begin their assault, and the first order of business is to take out the goblin's sniper, who Yume headshots immediately. With that taken care of, the team prepares to lay siege to the goblins that killed Monado. As Haru backstabs one of them, the others inside are alerted to their presence and get ready for battle. The team heads upstairs and are confronted by the goblins who came ready to fight. The leader sends out the beefy goblin to handle Moguzo, and the rest are handled by Ranta, while Yume and Haru take on the leader. These goblins are smart enough to understand the way humans fight, and even when Shihoro puts the beefy goblin to sleep, they are able to stop Moguzo from killing it and wake him up. And at the same time, Yume has just been stabbed by the goblin leader. Haru jumps in to save her, but he is not strong enough to take it out on his own, which is where Mary tags in to give him a helping hand with the holy head smash. Haru then jumps in to stab it in the stomach several times, so many times that I'm surprised he doesn't die from that. It knocks Haru off, but before Mary can jump back in, she remembers that Yume was stabbed and goes over to heal her. In that time, the goblin leader managed to escape despite the literal 12 stab wounds it has on its body. Meanwhile, Moguzo and Shihoro are still fighting the beefy goblin, and Moguzo is starting to get a bit worn out. Shihoro tries to fire a spell at it, but it dodges and Moguzo is out of juice, but Mary heals him and Shihoro uses her magic one more time to fire a spell at the goblin, and it actually hits. The revived Moguzo now uses this chance to kill strike the goblin straight through the floor. The rest of them finish up, and they all go to find the goblin leader, who is sitting in a chair and looks to be barely breathing. Ranta is about to finish it off, but an arrow is fired and oh shit, here we go again. Mary got shot in the back, and the leader goblin appears to have been acting as it gets up and tries to kill her. A second arrow is shot, but Haru puts himself in the line of fire and technically catches it. The others try to stop the goblin leader, and Moguzo is eventually able to subdue it. They check on Mary expecting the worst, but she is still alive and able to speak, just in a lot of pain. Haru goes after the goblin that shot the arrow on the roof. It was this guy that shot Monado, so he chases after it and tricks it with his jacket, forcing one-on-one combat. He struggles a bit, but ultimately, he's able to kill the goblin and avenge Monato. They all later go to visit Monado's grave to say a few words about him and share that they finally become fully fledged volunteer soldiers. The next day, after all they accomplished, they all take the day off and go about their respective ways of relaxing in Grimgar, and later that evening, they meet up at a bar to have a drink, where they hear that there has been recent trouble in the abandoned city, where they usually hunt goblins, and goblins are ferociously patrolling the area now. And due to that trouble, it's not likely that they will be able to make any money the next time they go hunting there. Due to this, Moguzo suggests that they switch up their hunting grounds a bit, and Haru blurts out that the mines would be a good place to switch to, but he quickly backpedals after remembering that is the same place Mary's teammates died, and she may not want to go there. However, the other members of the team think it would be a good idea, and they can take precautions to avoid death spot. So since it is their only option right now, they agree to go to the mines. However, Mary gets up and says she needs a moment to herself. She runs out of the bar, and Haru chases after her. By the time he catches up to her, she apologizes for running out on them, but Haru understands how she feels and why she is so averse to going into the mines, but she also realizes that she can't live her life without facing the past and moving on. While she knows she would never be able to go in there alone, it may be a different story if she went there with people she trusts, so she would be happy to go with them. But if they are going to take on the mines, they are going to have to be prepared for it. So Haru goes back to the guild to pay to learn a new skill, Spider. And as part of the training is experiencing the restrictions of the Spider technique. Or in other words, he is going to get suffocated by Barbara's thick thighs. After the first round, Haru is out for the count and can no longer continue, so Barbara takes a seat on him and tells him to tell her a story while he rests. He says he doesn't know any good stories, so she asks him to tell her about his love life. But that too has remained uninteresting. She can't believe he has gone 9 episodes and without a single romance subplot. There are even 3 girls in his party, so it's not like there is a lack of options. She grills him a little because there has to be at least one of them that he is interested in, but he soon changes the subject and asks about that strange ability he experienced before. Barbara recognizes it and says it's a good sign, but don't get it twisted. He's not some main protagonist or anything. That light is something anyone with a good level of skill will see once in a while, but to get it to happen more often, he will need it trained more, and thus she resumes the 5 thrashing. The next day, they all head to the Cyrene mines, armed and ready. They enter and are engaged in combat where they employ their newly acquired skills. Yume can hit the kobolds with a throwing knife from a distance now, and all of Haru's spider training has paid off. Ranta also learned a new skill that causes your opponent